Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Spider-Man video. We're going to start with Civil War and then go through all the stuff we know about his new solo trilogy, including the villains that I think they'll be using. As far as we know, Spider-Man isn't going to show up right away in Captain America's Civil War, but he will be Team Iron Man. He has Stark tech. It seems like his eyes are actually cameras that open and close. I don't know how he controls those. I'm guessing it's just suit tech. His mechanical web shooters are also probably Stark tech. Who knows what else is going on with it. They might talk a little bit more about the suit tech as we get closer to the movie, but most of their time is going to be spent promoting Black Panther, Captain America, and Iron Man's characters. So it's implied that sometime during the movie he'll have this crisis of conscience, switch teams, and kind of go off on his own before he goes into the solo film. But that doesn't mean that he is leaving the Avengers. Although technically, I don't know if you could call him an Avenger in this movie. He's really more of like a junior Avenger candidate in training. Like once the training wheels are off, Iron Man will give him the official A badge. But I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in his bedroom he has Avengers fanfare, like he has posters, action figures, anything related to the Avengers. Peter Parker's a scientist, so he's probably something of an Iron Man fanboy before whatever big fallout happens in Civil War. But here's the thing too, part of the arrangement for Spider-Man appearing in the Marvel films is that Marvel characters appear in the Spider-Man films just to help give him that little bump. So supposedly the idea is that Captain America and Iron Man will also have minor cameos in that first Spider-Man solo film. They don't have a title for it, but because Peter Parker is supposed to be 15 when Captain America Civil War picks up, he'll either be finishing his freshman year in high school or starting his sophomore year. The idea with the Spider-Man films is that he starts out in high school and each year is another year of high school. So by the last film, he'll be a senior in high school. That's why they cast an actor that was so young, so that he wouldn't wind up being a 35-year-old high school senior. I'm sure you've all seen one of those at your school. The movie itself is scheduled to come out July 7th, 2017, so you're talking like around 4th of July weekend next year. The only other characters we know are confirmed right now are Aunt May, who's being played by Marissa Tomei, and Zendaya, who's listed as a character named Michelle. Now, Gwen Stacy's middle name is Maxine, so they might be changing her character a little bit. She could be like the African-American Iris West. Who knows? The name Michelle is probably just a placeholder because they don't want to give it away. But as you know, because he's already Spider-Man, he's already taken the mantle, they're not doing the Uncle Ben origin story. They'll probably reference it, but they're not going to do a retelling of that part of the origin story. He's already going to be web-slinging, so most of the action will be on whatever the big plan the villain has in the movie, which they haven't confirmed yet. They haven't said which villain they're using, but because they're completely rebooting the universe, they're probably going to stick with a really safe bet, which really narrows the list down. Spider-Man's one of those characters that's been really popular for a long time. So just like Batman, he has a giant gallery of villains, really big, well-developed villains. So it's an embarrassment of riches, and Sony has access to pretty much all of them. And because of their sharing arrangement with Marvel, who knows, they might be able to share a villain in the future too. So right off the bat, number 10 would be Kingpin, but because he's part of the Netflix universe, they're probably not going to use him just because they want someone even bigger, more cinematic. Number 9, Jackal's another really big villain. If you didn't read the Spider-Verse stuff or Spider Island, he was involved in a big clone saga, created a whole bunch of clones, made a bunch of spider beings. It was crazy, so I'm not really expecting him to be the villain either, but he's one of the big ones. Number 8, Hobgoblin, little more likely, good safe bet, but they probably want to do Green Goblin before they did Hobgoblin. So number 7, moving down the list, Chameleon, one of the earliest villains that Spider-Man fought. He debuted during Amazing Spider-Man #1. Number 6, Mysterio. There are several versions of the character. I would prefer they just stick with the original and do Quentin Beck. If they're going for a classic characterization of the Spider-Man character, why not do the same thing for the villain? Number 5, Sandman. Just forget about all that business with him being involved with Uncle Ben's death during Spider-Man 3. Number 4, Dr. Octopus. Always a solid bet no matter when you're rebooting the comic. They made him sit out Andrew Garfield, but we got to see the arm, so we knew he was coming eventually, so now they might as well do him. Number 3, Venom. Amazing Spider-Man villain, but here's the problem. They're doing a Venom movie, and it's not supposed to be canon with the new Spider-Man trilogy. I know that sounds weird. I think they just want Venom to be his own thing off in this weird little universe. They don't want to bog down the new Spider-Man canon with anything that's going on. So if Venom is really successful, they'll probably change their minds about that. But for now, just assume that Venom isn't going to be anywhere in this new Spider-Man trilogy. So number 2, Kraven the Hunter. Kind of a weird choice, but the best Kraven story of all time is Kraven's Last Hunt. It's actually from the 80s. If they did that storyline for the movie, it'd be awesome. Really though, I think the strike in Kraven's favor is that he's a big cinematic villain you can do that they have not also done in recent memory. Like they just did Green Goblin, who's my #1 pick by the way. Green Goblin, #1 pick, very safe bet. But I feel like Kraven is actually the more likely pick that they'll go with for this first Spider-Man film. Now for the second and third Spider-Man films, all bets are off. They're totally going to have to bring back someone that they've already done. In the Sinister Six will probably have a loose role, but as far as I know, the Sinister Six movie that they had on the books earlier, they were going to do a spin-off movie just for them, is not happening anymore. They might reboot their plans for that, but Kraven, like I said, likely candidate for that first Spider-Man movie, was one of the original members of the Sinister Six, so they could still totally choose to do it later. I think they just want to make sure that its first Spider-Man film is as strong as it could possibly be, so that everyone is totally down with more Spider-Verse stuff. But here's my question for you guys. Let me know in the comments, who do you think that Zendaya is playing? Is she playing a version of Gwen Stacy? Is she playing some other character? Whoever she is, she probably is someone from the comics. And if they are doing Kraven, Kraven does have a daughter, but her name isn't Michelle. The interesting thing is that Mark Guggenheim, showrunner from Arrow, actually co-created Kraven's daughter. So more Marvel DC crossover. There's a lot of people that work in television that also write comics, and just because you work on a DC TV show doesn't mean that you can't also write Marvel comics. There's a lot of weird coincidences like that in the TV and movie universes where you have writers for TV shows and movies at one studio writing comics for another. His wife is actually the showrunner for Agent Carter, so you have like 2 different TV shows on different networks for different comic book companies in the same house. It's so funny. But here's what's going to happen next. You might have seen they just posted the X-Men Apocalypse trailer. I'm totally going to do a breakdown for that. Miami Vice Xavier is going to kick some ass. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's losing his hair in the movie, so there's this nice Bryan Singer continuity. Be sure to subscribe to get that video. I'll post it in the next couple of hours. And then there is Daredevil dropping at midnight, so my first video for that won't post till tomorrow. While you guys wait for that next video to post, you can click here for my Black Panther Civil War video, and you can click here for my big trailer breakdown of the whole thing. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.